So I was removing a sticker that the previous owner had put on this vehicle and my Chevy Bolt, and the way you do that is you use a heat gun or a hair dryer to warm it up, and then you use a razor blade to scrape it off. This sticker, however, was very, very large, and apparently I overheated and overdug. So even though I've done this a lot, I've never made this mistake before. So maybe there was a defect in the paint. Doesn't make any difference how I got here. The fact is, paint is off of this thing, and this isn't just like a chip, this is a chunk of paint that's missing. Oh my god, what do we do now? Well, it turns out it's not as bad as you might think. What you need to do is go get really three things. First, you need some paint. Look in the door jamb of your vehicle for the paint code, and then you take it to your dealer and they will give you the matching paint for it. Now, in this case, this is a GM, and for some insane reason, GM, as far as I know, is the only company that doesn't put a paint code in the door jamb on your registration sticker. What they actually put in there is just your VIN number and some other information. So you have to go to the dealer with your VIN, and then they will tell you which paint it is and give it to you. So in my case, I've just gone to the GM dealer, got my little touch-up paint, little paint pen. One end of the pen is paint, the other end is clear coat. You're going to need both. So that is the first thing you need. Second thing you need, sandpaper. And you think, sandpaper? Yeah. You better get rid of any rust or anything, any materials that are on here. Now first, what I actually used was some Goo Gone to make sure that this was totally clean. But now you can see the metal, even though the metal a few minutes ago was just shiny silvery because I scraped it right down to the metal with the razor blade. You can see now it's already started to oxidize. You got to get that off or the paint won't stick properly. That's not good. And when I say sandpaper, I'm not talking about your regular, wood sandpaper. I'm talking about metal sandpaper. And it costs the same, so don't worry about it. But really what you're looking for are 4 or 5 grades of very fine sandpaper. So you want to start it with like a 120 grit or something like that, and increasingly get up to as high as maybe even 1500 grit sandpaper. So we're going to do this in levels. We need to get rid of the edges that are on here, and we also need to get rid of any oxidation that's on there. And then after we've done the painting, we need to scrape off the paint with sandpaper. And the third thing you need to make it all perfectly clean is isopropyl alcohol. And you might ask, what's the difference between isopropyl and rubbing alcohol? If you've got rubbing alcohol, it's fine. The difference is isopropyl is 100%, or in this case you can see 99% alcohol. Rubbing alcohol is something like 70% or 60%. Either way, what you want is something that's going to go on here and evaporate very quickly. So I'm going to take the cleanest cloth I have handy, which is not the best. It should be something that doesn't have any lint. This a little bit. I'm going to cheat. And we want to wipe this off to make sure that there's nothing there after we do the sanding. So let's get to it. This is 100 grit to start with, and I'm just going to tear a little piece off of this, and I'm going to do this by hand. Now, if I had a larger scratch, what I would use is a little block behind here, because I want to make sure the pressure points aren't coming through with my fingers. But this is small, I just want to go around the edges. 100, that's about as much as you want to start with. That is rough. That is not nice for paint. Make sure you don't go too far out. We're just trying to get rid of any loose bits and clean that metal down. Okay, now this is some 150 or 180, I can't recall which. Just a little finer. Wipe it off. That's not good enough. Those little bits are going to get stuck in there. So what we have to do, take the alcohol, pour it on, and clean. Next step is to take our pen. Now before you use this thing, you're going to be tempted just to pull it apart and start using it. Yeah, don't do that. Shake it. You'll hear there's a little block in there that's going back and forth. You just want to mix it up. Otherwise, you're not going to get all the pigments that you want. So shake it up first. And we can use this edge remover, although hopefully I don't need to, because in my case it's all been cleaned up. But if you think that there's still some edges or chips that are waiting to fall off, you want to get them off now. Yeah, no, I think this is fine. This all seems fine. Okay, I'm going to take the rubbing alcohol. I'm going to put it back on here and just get that off. There we go. So that's clear. Unscrew the pen, pull it out. Now the big thing here that people make a mistake on is they think that what they want to do is just get the paint perfect right away. You don't. You're going to need to do this in probably 4, maybe 5 layers, and all you're trying to do is get it to build up actually higher than the paint that's there. Do not try to make it flat. And you want to start with the paint at the top side, not the bottom side, because, you know, paint's liquid. It's going to run downhill. Let that dry for 5 minutes. Do not try to fix it. If you try to fix it, there's going to be a skim on top that you're going to destroy when you paint over it. You're going to make it worse. Just leave it. In my case, I have some ridges here along the edges that I just can't seem to get enough paint into. So I'm going to keep doing this. Like I said, maybe as many as 5 times. So now let's take another look at this and see what it looks like if you didn't know it was there. And this is just a rough painting. And I think most people go right by it, not even notice it. But we're going to make that much better. So here we have some 600 and some 400 grit sandpaper. We're going to start with the 400 and change to 600. Now we should go all the way up to like 1,000, 1,500, maybe even 2,000 to make this proper. I'm not going to, and the reason for that is I bought this one at Home Depot and this one at Lowe's. And other than that, I need to go to a specialty store, order it in. I don't have time and I don't want to. So I'm just trying to tidy this up. So what I've done here is I've taken a little swatch of that 400 grit sandpaper and I'm putting it over top of just a little piece of wood that I happen to have around. What we're trying to do here is spread the pressure out so that you're not putting your fingers in one place. So if this was an edge that I needed, you know, because it was a scratch, I would go sideways. But here, I just want to go like this. And I have to be careful to not get too far out of the area that the paint is already into the clear coat around it. I don't want to do that. I just want to sand this down. And you might look at this and say, well, it's not doing a whole lot. Nope, it's not supposed to. We're just trying to make it even. And what I'm also going to do is I'm going to get this wet in a minute, because wet sanding, that's really the answer. Okay, now I've changed over to some 600 sandpaper, and as I said, wet sanding is the answer. Now, what I should do is spray this, but I don't have a spray handy. So I'm simply going to take a glass, well, a mug here, with some soapy water in it, and just sort of wipe it on it. I'm also going to put it on the paper itself, because I want that to be wet. And then let's just sand again. If you think you're not getting much off, so take our cloth and wipe it down. You think that's clean enough? Nope, it isn't. Rubbing alcohol, well, isopropyl alcohol in my case again. Rubbing alcohol if that's all you've got. You want to get that super clean. No little bits. So now it's time to put the clear coat on. So I'm just going to unscrew this end, make sure it's standing upright, because the clear coat is actually in this bottle. Try to paint it on as best we can. Don't worry about it being too even. It will level itself out. Okay, so we're back and you want to do another clear coat. And while I'm here, I'm going to look for other defects in the vehicle, and I can see the previous owner also put a ding in here, and on the bumper the color is off. So while I'm here, I might as well touch it up. This is not trying to repair the vehicle, it's just trying to tidy it up. Okay, let's come back in a half an hour and see what it all looks like. So let's take a look at the final results. If we just take a casual walk past the vehicle like that, you're not going to notice anything, I don't think. You're just going to see a white Chevy Bolt and not really have much concern for it. You can see that the color match GM provided us was actually not very good. Now, in fairness to GM, this is brand new paint. That's 7-year-old paint, or 6-year-old paint, so it will have faded a bit. But I think the match is actually pretty terrible. from GM's end. Also, you'll notice it looks a little bit rough. It actually doesn't in the camera. It actually doesn't look that bad in person. And the clear coat hasn't quite finished drying, so it will look better once that clears up. Now, as I said, as we walk back, I think nobody's going to notice. So let's do a before and after. That's the after. Let's look at the before. So there's two things left to discuss. One is, what do you do with the leftover paint? Make sure it's sealed up tight and you put it into your glove box. And what's the last thing there is to discuss? Well, we would just really appreciate the big thumbs up. It really helps with the Google algorithms. If you found this video useful, please give us a big thumbs up. Also, subscribe's also appreciated always. And if you want to get a hold of us, you can directly at www.urtech.ca. That's www.urtech.ca. Or you can leave a question or comment below, and if we don't get back to you, somebody else will, because, hey, it's YouTube and everybody has an opinion. Thanks and have a great day. Bye-bye.